Hello, namaste, welcome. My name is Deepak R. Khemani and I am one of the co-founders of Bloom. Good morning, good afternoon, or maybe even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. Bloom, our Sunday talk show, today is our non-stop 77th episode. Bloom was born during the pandemic and is the brainchild of Miss Payal Irani. Bloom is a flower that has blossomed and is spreading its fragrance across the globe. At Bloom, we are into physical and mental wellness, trainings, speaking engagements, and creating signature workshops for corporates and individuals desirous of going to the next level. We have a powerful and a dynamic team which has been handpicked. They are the who's who in their respective domains, having a collective experience of 200 plus years. We at Bloom strongly believe in co-creation, collaboration, and teamwork. I invite each and every one of you to be a part of Bloom, where together we grow, and as Bloom blossoms, it creates ripples the world over. I take this opportunity to introduce my co-host and another co-founder of Bloom, Mr. K.V. Premraj. Premraj is a futurist. He speaks on leadership and management and employee engagement. He is a co-author of 5 books. 4 of them you can see in his background. All 5 of them #1 bestsellers. He has 37 years experience in the banking and financial services space. He was a CEO of the BPO arm of a leading private sector bank and has been with us with Bloom right from the very beginning, co-hosting these shows. Welcome, Premraj. Do introduce our guest today.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for that very, very kind introduction. Today, we have on the show a very powerful speaker in Mr. Sukhdeepak Malvai. After spending many years with large multinational companies, in 1982, he discovered his calling and moved to an American training organization where he has been conducting training in 17 different countries. He has been a pioneer in path-breaking work of introducing and creating acceptance of transformational workshops. This was a novelty in the corporate world in the 1980s. Sukhdeepak has been trained by Moda, New York for conducting communication and management of change workshops for the United Nations development programs. He has conducted these sessions in 15 different countries. He's a qualified MBTI trainer and an accredited trainer with HDI UK as a helpdesk institute and an Avtar Master. He has studied ontology, semantic transformation processing, EFT, NLP, and TA certified access bar facility. He's also a mediator, a Reiki master and healer, Theta healer, and a regular Vipassana meditation practitioner. He has written 2 books on Reiki. He has shared his knowledge with a large number of top-rung corporates. Sukhdeepak is very passionate about human transformation. He conducts bold and outrageous programs to leave participants with experiences that last a lifetime and significant breakthroughs in their lives. Today, he will talk to us on the importance of spiritual quotient in our lives. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sukhdeepak.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like you said, my name is Sukhdeepak. So I've been making people dukhi for a long, long time. So greetings to all of you. You are all, I just want to remind you all that we are all wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary human beings who deserve to be loved and respected for who we are. in my journey in the corporate world, I said people are chasing after something or the other. All right. And they always have a trade-off of something in order to get something. Okay. So when I look at all these corporate people whom I, train and individually coach, and they are such big performers in their workplace, but when you look at their lives in total, they're always having some trade-off somewhere or the other. All right. And whatever they don't give their attention to comes and bites them at some point of time in their life. And then their well-being is disturbed. And when the well-being is disturbed, then obviously everything else is disturbed. Now imagine that you are a senior most person in an organization. You are the source and you are the creator of everything that happens around you. Whether you know this or not, you think that this is all about the doing domain. Okay. I believe it's more of the being domain than just being the doing domain. See, people will never do what you say. They will do what you do. You can ask people to be a certain way. They will never be a certain way unless you be a certain way, because you're sending out vibrations. Anyway, so the journey of the last 35 years and working with thousands and thousands of people. And, I was one of those guys in those days. I had to trade off a lot of money to get into this. I used to work for an MNC, and I decided to just leave and become a trainer because I realized, wow, the world needs this. Okay. Now here's a guy who's working for a German MNC, and he's going and working for someone for maybe 40% of the salary he was getting over there. But it never mattered to me because I had a mission. And my mission was to have a world that works for everybody. Okay. A world that works for everybody. That's what turns me on. And that's what I'm doing, a world that works for everybody. But inside of that, what I also discovered was that, well, everybody wants something. There is a problem with what they want. But it seems to me that even what we want is programmed. So we are running after the shoulds in our life rather than what we personally would like to create in our life. So are we fulfilling our life's desire, or are we fulfilling the shoulds that have been imposed upon us? So these questions were coming up. And in this journey, I discovered about maybe 20 years ago that well-being and performance go together. Okay. Now, if you're going to perform only in one area of your life, maybe you don't think it's very important over there. Like when you talk to young people, and I do talk still, though I'm 69 years old now, I deal with a lot of youngsters, So the HR guys will say, sir, are you sure youngsters will listen to you? I say, well, let me talk to them. We shall find out. And then they do listen. So when I remember when I was a youngster, we didn't care much about, look, when I'm 50, we shall see. Somebody talked about well-being and somebody talked about health and all that. And stress and all that. We say, hey, come on, let's talk about how do I get what I want? How do I get more money? How do I become the DM? How do I become a CMD? How do I get some more money? I'm interested only in perks and this and that and the other. Tell me how to, navigate the political waters of the corporate world. Those are the kind of questions that were there. So that brings me to something very important, that I started asking myself a lot of questions at one point. And the reason I started asking these questions was, am I really making a difference? I'm in a field and I want to make a difference. And I do make a difference. Right? But I was also hearing from a lot of people, why is it, sir, that when you come and do a program for 4 days, you have this fantastic feeling and we go out there and for a week or 10 days, we are charged up and we want to do something great. And then, sir, after that, everything goes away. And then my pat answer to them was, nothing is permanent. You got to brush your teeth every day. You got to have a bath every day. So you've got to sustain your learning. You've got to internalize your learning. So we trainers are masters in jargon, right? So you can flummox people with your jargon for a while. But I had my questions, if I'm making a difference to people's lives, right? Then am I giving them something that will sustain them? Okay. Which will keep them going. And I had a lot of observations about people, like whatever principles or theories, and they'll talk about, give me life hacks. Sir. So nowadays they say, give me 7 keys to success. Sir. 7 habits of highly successful people, and blah, and blah, and blah. All right. We've done that. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of people here who do that for a living like I used to. But I had these questions. I'm sure you do too. My questions were that how is it that there are some people who don't know the K of keys of life, right? And they're building these huge business empires. Okay? How is it we say that communication is the key to nurturing and having excellent relationships? How is it that somebody who doesn't even speak the language properly, any language for that matter? See, in those days, we used to think that if you speak English properly, you're a good communicator. Now we know different. I mean, there are people who cannot communicate properly in any language, even in their own mother tongue. Right? So questions were, how come people know how to communicate? How come people don't know how to make a relationship? Okay? How is it that those who don't have any knowledge are able to produce such great results? How is it that some people are able to make magical results and other people are struggling to produce results and they cannot? How come, I am teaching such great, glorious stuff to everybody? How come my own life stinks? Now, see, whatever said and done, we may be making a lot of difference to everybody's life, but we have families and we have wives and we have children and we have grandchildren. What difference are you making to them? How are you coping with your own ups and downs in life? All right. Every time you fall down, are you getting up scarred and skeptical, or are you coming back charged and renewed? Now, fortunately, I had recourse and touch with technology. I was working with people in such a way that I was always able to bounce back and come back better than I was when I went down. I mean, there was a time I lost 2 crore rupees and my partner had put 20 criminal cases against me and everything. And I never lost at the same time, my wife had got stage 4 cancer and, she was going to die in 6 months' time. My youngest son was going to have his board exams, and you can imagine. And my medical insurance has lapsed because my accountant had gone on leave and all that shit. Everything that can happen to you in life had happened, okay? But you know what? I came out of it unscathed because 10 years before that happened to me, I had started exploring a world beyond what I was exploring before, all right? The world that I was exploring and mastered in, I'm happy to say, was a world where we helped people and ourselves to deal with our mind and bodies to a great extent and our emotions. That's what we were doing. But we did not know that there is another domain called the energetic domain, okay? And my first touch with the energetic domain happened when I went and did the first Vipassana 10-day course, all right? And it's an interesting story why I did it also. Because my trainer, the lady who trained me to become a trainer, she was like a ferocious tigress, you understand? She could hit you, throw a chappal on your face or do whatever, okay? Totally unpredictable. She went and did Vipassana and suddenly she comes back as this very calm and peaceful and benign and overtly compassionate human being. I said, hello, what happened? Right? This is something worth looking at. Now you won't believe Mrs. Indu Jain, the grandmother of the Times Group people, she used to be after my life, Sukhdeepak, you must do Vipassana. I said, leave it. I'm not interested in all these religious things. So I went and did Vipassana, and thank God I did that. Because I believe there's nothing better in life than actual experiential learning. Okay? Now I have been in experiential learning since 82. But boy, when you experience in your body that nothing is permanent, okay? When you experience in your body the connection between thoughts and vibrations, like actual sensations in your body, you're not likely to forget that, okay? And that's when I discovered, now, by the way, I've been reading a lot of books, right? The Tao of Physics and the Dancing Woolly Masters, etc., etc. Okay, so I knew about the world of energy. And it was of interest to me. You raise your vibrations, all that, like we all know. Okay, and then, fortunately, again for me, after I came back from Vipassana at some point, I read a book called The Celestine Prophecy. So if you get a chance, you must read it. I don't want to tell you too much about it. There again, this guy, in very simple terms, talks about the energy domain. In very simple terms, he talks about how this drama is going on for this energy. This is the time when a little before that, I had agreed to do the Reiki program, okay, for the sake of my mother, okay, but I got transformed out of it. I mean, and I started believing. And you know what? Who convinced me finally to do this Reiki workshop? A PhD in quantum physics who used to work for BARC. So me being the skeptical guy, oh, I am a science guy. So she says, listen, I think I know a little bit more about science than you do. I said, yes, ma'am. Certainly you have a PhD in quantum mechanics or whatever, quantum physics. So I chanced upon this, okay? I mean, I started experiencing, yes, there is a domain, like, you know, what was his name? Guy was Benjamin Franklin, by accident discovered electricity, right? I'm sure before that it was considered to be magic. So I chanced upon this whole energetic domain and I started studying it. And then I read a book by Dr. David R. Hawkins. I'm sure you might have heard of him. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. Very intriguing title. Now, somebody who's a good friend of mine, he knows my interest in these things. So he presented this book to me. So it was lying on the bookshelf, you know, because I thought, oh, some force, some power, what is that? I'm not interested in, you know, must be something about being politically powerful or something like that. You know, one day I just read it, you know, and I just couldn't put the book down. Now, it's a very academic tome. You need some patience to read it. But when he started the book, he started saying something, you know, he says, hello, to put it in a nutshell, what I discovered in that book was that people operate at different levels of consciousness, okay? And here is a man who is a PhD in chemistry who almost won the Nobel Prize. This guy had a spiritual experience. So being a scientist that he was, he started actually experimenting with it, researching in it to find out more. And he discovered the world of consciousness, okay? And not only did he discover it, he measured it, he calibrated it, and he put together a chart where he talks about life, you know, and how it occurs to you at different levels of vibration, let's say. So he talks about a level below. I hope you've made me a co-host so I can show you a chart at some point. So when you are down below, so there is a level 200, okay? The guy actually says, don't hobnob with people who are less than 200 because they are into those petty games of life, right? Pulling each other down, you know, doing all sorts of kumbhakadam, as they call it in Tamil, crooked stuff, you know. So you don't want to associate with people like that, okay? So the idea is, how do you get out and how do you go beyond 200? Now, when you go below 200 is where you use force and effort. You go above 200, then things start happening effortlessly. You are in a different mind state. You're a different kind of being, okay? Now, if you reach a level around 350, 375, then you become like Sai Baba, Puttupati, Sai Baba, or you become like Shri Ravi Shankar or that Sadhguru or Sadhguru's guru with whom I had studied long time back, okay? You become like that, okay? And have you noticed that when you reach that level of consciousness, you don't have to have effort to make money? Like, for example, this Mr. Goenka, who came back from Burma and he was absolutely penniless, but he had discovered Vipassana and he started teaching Vipassana and he never charges money for that. People give donation if they want to, okay? And this guy builds an empire, and if I think in every city, every big city in India, you have a Vipassana Kendra. So was he playing tricks and manipulating and making targets and action plans and blah, blah, blah in order to get that money? He just got it, right? So I was questioning these things. And I was looking for a tool where, hello, can you do something to raise your consciousness? So I've been experimenting with various methods, including meditation and this and that, and all of them seem to be hit and trial methods. Until in the year 2019, one of my students, very persistent bugger, I must tell you that, I coached him to be a trainer at one point. Oh no, sir, you must come and do this program. 26th of January, I went and attended one of the first Access Consciousness programs. Okay. And Eureka, I found it. So within a year, I became a certified facilitator. I said, hello, the world needs this. I still maintain that there may be 100 ways of reaching higher levels of consciousness. Now, the question is, having said that, I mean, what is this consciousness business? I'm sure many of you know. So for simplicity, I'm talking about something called spiritual quotient or SQ because I believe some people know about it. We always like to relate with something familiar. Huh? So SQ is something we can understand. Have you made me the co-host, sir? Okay, you did? All right, let me show you then. Now, the world was very, very familiar with something called IQ. You know that? When I was passing out of school those days, IQ was very, very important. So I bought many books on IQ. Okay, how to raise your IQ, full of tests and all that. And then later on, it was all about SQ. Mr. Goldman and his books became very popular. So Vipassana says the more equanimous you are, spiritually peaceful and all that. Okay. And now the world has discovered something called SQ. Now, let me start here saying that what is it that most people would want? All of us at any age. Even today, I want that. I want peak performance without stress, right? I don't want to retire. I'm not interested in getting tired again. People ask me, sir, you're 69, you're still working, your grandchildren are now going to college. I said, why not? What is the point of being retired? I was tired once, I should be tired again. Sorry. So I want peak performance without stress. And something at our level, we can be a little picky and choosy about what kind of work we want to do, right? Because we are not chasing after Mr. God Mammon anymore, right? We are definitely interested in happiness and productivity. And we are definitely interested in offering it to people. Okay? Now, we are interested in relationships that empower you and everybody else around you, not relationships that I use as a tool to wheedle something out of somebody else. So we always say, sir, formula bataiye. I mean, what formula can I use to get this guy to do what I want? One industrial guy, from Patiala, big company he's got, he says, tell me how to squeeze these buggers. I don't like to use the word so that I can get better performance from them. I said, sir, thank you very much. This is not the kind of work I do. But sir, you are into productivity. I said, yes, I am, but not in your kind of thinking. But there's no point, right? So relationships that empower you. So this formula, I'll not tell you, you guys know all this. What we are dealing with, interferers which don't allow people to have what they want in life. Am I right in presuming that everybody wants to fulfill his desire? Right? I don't like to use the word want anymore because wanting means you don't have it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So some of the interferers are our mind, with all the negative stuff that it's full of, beliefs and blah, 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 you know that, right? Negative thoughts, uncertainty, beliefs about self and others and situations, right? Then the body, lack of energy, illness, hyperactivity, stress, etc. And emotions. We are, unfortunately, emotional beings, and the circumstances control us through our emotions, right? So fear, worry, anxiety, all that stuff, right? Reaction, resistance. I can send you this presentation, sir, Premraj, if you want it, no problem. I share all my stuff with everybody. You can ask me for anything, you can have it. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
So now the question is, just focus on the last two. Reaction and resistance is what we are doing more than 90% of the time. In fact, we are doing it more than 95% of the time. Have you ever thought that when you are in a state of reaction and resistance, who's in control? Not you. And the most potent part of our brain is not working at all, the one where you see possibilities, right? In fact, one question I ask to all the corporate guys I train is, what will you add to your life today that will allow you to create a future that you desire? So that's not lingo they used to, you know. So first thing is desire. You tell them the word desire, they think only certain things. You know what I mean? Desires.
Yeah.
That they can only talk about late at night or after a couple of drinks of whiskey or whatever. Hello, I'm not talking about those desires. I tell them that. Hello, what do you desire in life? I can tell you what I want, sir. I said, okay, good. Yeah, at least tell me that. Now, if you are in a state of reaction and resistance, are you going to see a possibility that's there right in front of you? Maybe not. We've all heard of something called the reticular activating system, right? So we'll not get into that. It only lets you see what your brain is willing to let you see for your survival, right? So reaction resistance is what is going on. So what's missing for most people, and they are unnecessarily struggling all the time. Number one, reaction and resistance causes a lot of stress, right? And we all know that if you're resisting something, it never lets you be. Now, I'm a guy who used to resist angry people a lot, right? So naturally, you land up with an angry wife, okay? Whatever you resist, you'll get, okay? Now I said, shit, man. This was the angel I married. Now she's become a Durga. How am I going to live with her? Then I read this formula, you know, resistance causes persistence. So what's the opposite of that? Being in a state of allowance. And that's when the magic started. The magic, gussa disappeared like magic. Not only did the anger disappear, I was not bothered by the anger anymore, you know. Earlier, you know, coals were coming out of her mouth. Now flowers were coming out. Well, something in me changed. There's all the magic of the SQ happening. So what are we doing right now? Effort, struggle, conflict, hyperactivity, reaction, resistance, anxiety, worry, uncertainty. Now, I do not know why people worry about uncertainty, you know. Have you noticed that most people are very uncomfortable with uncertainty? Should we be worried about uncertainty? You tell me, there are equal chances that something beautiful, wonderful, magnificent, unexpected might happen. And there are chances that something might go wrong. But whenever there is uncertainty, something will go wrong. Why is that? That's where, you know, when you are level, say 250 or below, that's what's controlling you. Okay. So how do I deal with our interferers? We know this, Dr. Shumantro Goshal's work, right? You become a high energy, high focus person. Easier said than done, right? So the last 35 years, I'm trying to make people high energy and high focus. They do become, and then the circumstances take over all over again. That's the problem. So let's talk about SQ, right? The spiritual quotient is a measure of somebody's spiritual acumen, all right? Let's call it consciousness. Just like IQ looks at cognitive intelligence, EQ looks at the emotional power of a person, SQ looks at the spiritual power of the person, okay? And this is becoming the next big aspect of scientific research worldwide. There's lots of stuff available on it. You can go to YouTube also, you'll find lots of stuff about it, okay? How does it help? As you know that the interferers are a problem, or problems are part of human life, right? We cannot escape them. Now, spiritual power helps you to become more flexible, and please note the word flexible, helps you to get out of the box of limitations created by our judgments, right? And seeking advice of others. Makes it easier to find solutions, weighing pros and cons, choosing the best alternative, getting creative inputs from beyond the five senses. That's what we want. Getting creative inputs from beyond the five senses. Okay? So let me show you Dr. David R. Hawkins' chart. So I'd ask you to take a few minutes. Can you see it, guys?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
so,
it's visible.
So below, can you see my arrow moving also?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is the level 200. Okay. Below this, when I used to work for my corporate job, I was here. I went for this training program that transformed my life, and I believed it pushed me up the ladder. And I got the courage for the first time in my life to make a choice rather than make a decision. So I chucked my job and became a trainer. Okay. Now just look down here. This is level 0 at the bottom. This is level 1000. So the only people here would be people like Lord Buddha or, Krishna or Jesus Christ or people like that. Okay. Right at the top. There was one gentleman in Bombay who was at some 750. Mahatma Gandhi was rated at 700 and something. So there is a whole chart available. If you guys are interested, send me a mail. I'll send it to you. Okay. So at this level, fear, grief, anxiety, guilt, and shame, we are in a state of inaction. Okay. This is where most low energy, low focus people will be. You have to keep pushing them to get them to do something, right? On their own, they are in inaction. Above this is where many people are. Okay. This is where these kind of feelings are very important. Pride, anger, desire, right? This is the place you'll say he's got a lot of ego, right? Hyperactivity. You go up the ladder here. Here is where you start getting happiness and productivity. Okay. Courage, the neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love. Now, pure love, not the filmy love. Joy, peace, and enlightenment. So the idea is, how do we get from here to here? Okay. Now, I don't want to talk too much about the tools right now. We don't have the time to do that because you have your question answer section also. So what is consciousness? I'll tell you this very quickly and then we'll move on. State of being aware and responsive to one's surroundings. So consciousness is the ability to be present in your life in every moment without judgment of you or anyone else. It is the ability to receive everything, reject life greater than what you currently have and more than you can imagine. Consciousness includes everything and everyone, judges nothing and no one. So some of these tools, acceptance allows for disappearance. Every experience is a gift, be grateful for it. Shift from be cause to me cause, be authentic, forgive self and others, develop integrity and be whole. Okay. Now, there are a whole lot of other tools, but I do not want to talk about it now. But there is one simple thing I can ask you to begin with. Okay. Start noticing how much judging you are doing in your life. Okay. And let me distinguish for you, there's a big difference between judging and evaluating. We need to evaluate to improve, right? But when you judge, you don't improve. Got it? Because if you think that you're doing yourself a favor in life by judging yourself and others, you're not. Because judging creates limitation. Judging only allows those things to come into your life which are consistent with your judging. Okay? So let me give you a sample of it because we struggle with this hell of a lot being Indians, Money is the root of all evil, my mom used to say. Money makes you bad. Okay? Money makes you arrogant, filthy rich. Look at all the stuff that goes on with regard to money. You cannot talk about money with everybody. Yeah? Money is to be whispered about. You can't talk about money. Yeah? Money is a bad thing. I used to believe whole my life, honestly, you can never become a very rich man. You got to be a bloody crook. Then only you can make money. You got to be a liar and a cheat. Correct? Because I don't want to be a liar and cheat, I'd rather be without money. Thoda hai, thode ki zarurat hai. I used to be fond of songs like that, Adjust, jitni badi chadar rahe. Yeah? Don't really think about earning more and have. Why should I buy a shoe worth $8,000, I'd rather wear a shoe $800. My grandfather never had a shoe like that. He went to England for his studies. That's the kind of mindset, right? So the judgment is not allowing the money to come into your life. And believe you me, the day that changed, money started coming effortlessly. I do not know how the hell it comes. I say I want 5 lakhs, it comes. So are you interested in a magical life, guys? Then start looking into the world of SQ. Maybe you can come and do one of my Access Consciousness programs. It will really push you in the right direction. Or you can find your own way, whatever you want to do. But remember one simple formula, don't catch yourself judging. And you will only do that when you are in a state of higher awareness. Now, we all know how to be in a state of higher awareness. But there's no point doing your 1 hour meditation in the morning and being in a state of high awareness, and the whole day consciously aware of what your thoughts are doing. Okay? How much unconsciously you're judging yourself and others. Now, how do you know that? Whether you're judging or not? I'll give you some statements which we keep saying unconsciously. Agree, don't agree. Yeah, very nice. Good, bad, right, wrong, agree, not agree. That's what we're doing all the time, right? What if you just put a stop to that and see what new possibilities become aware? So I'm saying, if you stop judging, you will have the awareness of something much greater in your life. Isn't that wonderful? So I believe that we all deserve to have a life of ease, joy, and glory. And the way to have it is to keep working on your consciousness. Okay, guys? So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity. It is such a wonderful as you. Okay? It's almost like I'm talking to myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that masterclass. For the last 40 minutes, we have been having this, and it's completely bored us. So I'll request Deepak to take over, because we have on the show a lot of participants who are in the higher realms. They would be wanting to ask some questions to you. So I request Deepak to take it forward.
Did
Deepak,
I hear you saying the word bored?
Sorry?
Did I bore you?
No, that's very empowering.
Yes, you can use any number of adjectives to describe what we have heard from you in the last 35-40 minutes. And since my name is part of your name, I'm sure we are on the same plane also.
Yes.
One or two questions, and I would like the audience to take this opportunity to interact with Sukhdeepak as much as possible. Before that, I would like to ask you one or two questions on my side. One is, it is said that we are not human beings searching for a spiritual experience. We are actually spiritual beings going through a human experience. Yeah. At what point in your life did you find, or did you say, no, that's enough? There was one point where you said you gave up your job and you became a trainer. That is fine. That is probably called job hopping, or you reached a point in your life where there is a junction, it is going to take you to two places. However,
I actually, you asked this very interesting question. This training that transformed my life, it happened in Mumbai. Okay. It was called the EST training. 2 weekends from 9 a.m. till 3 a.m. in the morning. I came out of that place. For the first one day, my mind was only saying, oh God, I don't know. I don't know. I was in a state of shock because I knew everything. I'd read some 300 books before that. You tell me anything, I'll say, I know, right? I was a human doing, correct?
Yeah.
Impressive and all that typical corporate stuff.
Yeah.
I went out there for the first time. I realized, okay, that there is this me, the physical me is not me. Okay. Yeah. I actually experienced it. Okay. And there were a few experiences that followed within a couple of months. There was this doctor friend of mine, Dr. Ravi Iyer. I don't know where he is now. So we had done some experiments with the NDEs. Okay. And that's when it got kind of reinforced. Okay, yes, you are a spiritual being who has chosen to live this life to experience it.
Yeah.
It actually happened for me like that. I don't usually talk about.
Yeah. So most of us would define spirituality with religion. That is, what is the difference between spirituality and being religious? Can a spiritual person be non-religious, or can only a religious person be spiritual?
I'm a spiritual person who's non-religious. And for my father was a Sardarji, my mother was a Malayali Christian. Okay? And nobody imposed any faith on us. Right? And we were exploring. I was like pissed off with these people, all these religious people, as they say something, but they do something else.
Yeah.
Faith teaches us to be inclusive, but we exclude people. Faith teaches us to be peaceful, but we use faith to fight with each other.
Yes.
So a really spiritual person will never be exclusive. He will include people, right? He will not berate people. He will not be judging people. He would be compassionate. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a big fan of ritualistic religion.
Yes.
So I've beautiful things in it too. By the way.
Yeah. The logic of asking that question is, when you are born in a Hindu family, you are going to temples. When you are born in a Muslim family, you are going to a mosque. When you are born in a Christian family, you are going to church. You are reading that particular religion's books. And that is what influences you going ahead. So in your case, clearly you said there was a hybrid. There were two parts and nothing was imposed upon you. Did that make it easier for you if you were only, let's say, in one part?
See, what made it easier for me was that my father was in the army and we kept getting transferred. Sometimes in the north, sometimes in Trivandrum, sometimes in Chennai, sometimes in Coimbatore, and exposure to different people. And I found that I wouldn't be very, I didn't kind of deal with people from where they are from or what religion. That distinction, religion, never asked. I remember first time somebody asked me, what's your gotra, what your caste?
Yeah.
I say, what's that?
What is that?
Are you getting it? So, but because they would never tell me, I read these books on my own.
Yeah.
I read the Granth Sahib, right? I read the Gita, okay? I read the Quran also, right? And then when I did Vipassana, it opened me up to reading a lot more about. And I said, hello, they're all talking the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's masked with so many layers of this ritual stuff that people get it.
Yeah. Well said. It basically, they are all inclusive. We have taken just parts, probably verses, a few sentences, and twisted it to justify what we are doing or what we are preaching. Again, one last question before I open it up to the house. It is said that you always need a guru in whatever you want to do in life. When you are growing up, you have parents. When you are going to school, you have a teacher, a college, a mentor. If you want to become spiritual, can you do it on your own, or there also you will need a spiritual guide, a mentor, and advisor?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question to, but I can tell you my 2 bits on it.
Yeah.
Look, if I had not gone and attended that program, okay, which was crafted by somebody you can call as a guru, my life would have not been transformed. If I had not gone and attended Vipassana, now Vipassana is interesting. There's no teacher there. I mean, the guy who's there as a teacher, he doesn't speak. You can go and ask him a question. All right. Now, I've experienced both these words, right? But I believe one thing, considering that as human beings, we have this tendency to interpret things, right? And our all interpretations and judgments are based on our own past experiences and judgments, all right?
Yeah.
So we need a teacher to help us to look at other interpretations, which we never thought of. Now, mostly you can't do it on your own. You need somebody, like we need a mirror to comb our hair, for God's sake. So that's why coaches and trainers, and I don't like the word guru. I'm a friend who is committed to the fulfillment of your vision. I believe we can be friends rather than gurus.
Yeah.
At least we'll not talk down at people.
Yes.
We can speak with people, have conversations with them.
Yeah. Wonderful. Very, very well said. Thank you so much for, saying what you said just now. At this point, I would like to open up. If anybody is interested, please raise your hand. I will call you out by name. You can unmute yourself and you can ask Sukhdeepak any question. Please go ahead. Don't miss this opportunity. Yes, Satishji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It was only when Premraj said that 40 minutes had passed that I had to look at the clock and agree with him, of course. But wonderful session. So many gems, as I wrote in the chat, so many gems from the session.
Yes.
One thing that I really liked was about the difference between a want and a desire. I think you brought it out very, very brilliantly.
Yes.
Sir, can you just throw a little light on what part compassion plays in SQ? Thank you.
See, the higher you rise in your consciousness, the more compassionate you become. Now, there is a word in India called karuna. Okay? You know karuna?
Yes.
No English word for it. Compassionate probably comes close to it, but it is.
Closest. Yeah.
Right? Because compassion is inclusive. Compassion is an allowance. Like a mother is an allowance of her child.
Yes.
Like that. I mean, I don't think other than mothers and God, anybody will have karuna. We can go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to ask? Yes, Dr. Alka, please go ahead.
Sir, thank you very much. The session was not only powerful, but it made me think a lot from within myself. And I, being a doctor, what I've seen is the people who come to me, and I'm practicing for the last 30 plus years, and the people who come to me who are happy, who are, mast log jo hote hai na, they are the healthiest, they are the most productive, and they go very, very high in their life. And I've seen them that they have a high spiritual quotient. आप उनसे बात करेंगे ना तो वो बताएंगे कि ये इतना अच्छा है, वो इतना अच्छा है, वो इतना अच्छा है. They see the good in everything. They see good in everybody. The same situation is present in this kind of a person and another kind of person. So we have a lady in our group. She will find out from somewhere, she will search the goodness in a particular situation. She will say, नहीं ये तो ये ऐसा है, ये इसमें ये अच्छा है, ये इसमें सुंदरता है. वो सुंदरता कहीं ना कहीं से ढूंढ लेते हैं. She just searches for beauty and goodness. So thank you so much for that, and I really loved your take on spiritual quotient. The spiritual quotient, if it is really developed from our childhood, we can develop it later also. Whether it is Goenka ji, whether it is Sukhdeepak ji, Sukh bhi hai aapke naam mein aur light bhi hai aapke naam mein. आप सुख भी spread करते हो और light भी spread करते हो. तो दोनों चीजें आप में हैं, तो आपके अंदर तो spirituality और you're filled with spiritual quotient, very high spiritual quotient. Thank you very much for that great enlightenment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alka. Anybody else? Jonita, you want to say something?
Just one second. Today we have, for many years, we have programs on appreciative inquiry. We have to teach them to be appreciative. And then some people naturally appreciative.
Yes.
Deepak ji, thank you very much. You are one of the few people who never called me Sukhdeep. Don't call me Sukhdeep.
If I was a Punjabi, probably I would have called you Sukhdeep. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So one question on my personal part before somebody else decides to raise their hands. So Dr. Alka just now said that, there are people who will look out for the goodness in everything. And, then there are people who will look out for something wrong somewhere. And I would like to confess over here, somehow my personal eye is trained to find mistakes. If there is a comma missing somewhere, no, I will actually point it out. If there is a grammatical mistake on a billboard, I can, I'll tell my wife, I'll tell my daughter, and then they will tell me, kya papa, aap hamesha ye karte rehte ho. These things are somehow visible to me and I can make them out. Yeah. Where do you categorize this? How does this happen?
So, well, if you go by MBTI, you are an S person. You look at details and find mistakes naturally, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't. So it also gives you the power to appreciate things, and you can see that also, right? Which one are you going to manifest more is up to you, right? You can choose to, relate with somebody like, you bloody idiot, you don't know where to put a comma. You can relate to him like that, or you can relate to him saying, listen, wow, this is a wonderful treatise you've written. These are little commas and full stop. Please make the formatting all right. It will be much better. Choice is yours, right?
Yeah.
But you'll have to keep distinguishing between judging and evaluating.
Yes.
That's that guy, you idiotic fellow, you don't know how to write properly. That's
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah. Go ahead, Abhijit.
And sometimes when it is your job, you better
Yeah.
do it properly.
Yes, Satish, well said. Yes, yes. Abhijit, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Just taking from what you said and Satish said, as career auditors, our duty was always to find errors. But I think long back, I was in touch with somebody who I now I look back and think that he was highly spiritual, but he always, whenever I used to write something negative, he used to correct my report. This was very early in my career, and he used to put it in a positive way. So
Yes.
instead of error being pointed out, he used to always word it that this was a solution which we were giving. So even the observation which was there was not that this is not done, this is how it should be done,
Yeah.
to improvise further. So something that's something which we have learned along the way. And the second thing is, as if you can't change anything, if it's compulsory in your duty, I think treat it as it was your dharma to do it, and
Yeah.
then just move ahead in the other part of life, what was duty. So any views on that, Deepak ji?
I think you just got it right? I mean,
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, that's a good approach, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Cuts out unnecessary angst, you know.
Yeah. Praveen Agarwal, go ahead.
Yeah, Praveen, we are waiting for you to speak. Yeah.
Thank you, Sukhdeepak ji. Thank you so much for enlightening us with spiritual question. I am sure after this session, everyone really be working on where do we really improve on the spiritual question. I have a very simple question. I just want to know the reason behind your statement on your background. I am nature's greatest miracle, and I would like to know as in the objective and what we're really looking to portray, so that we also really learn from it. Thank you.
I tell you, sir, what is happening is that because of our people's judgment on us from our childhood, we always trying to be somebody else because we think, oh, that is fellow is better, this fellow is better, that fellow is better.
Yeah.
We never realize that we are the greatest miracle because we are totally unique. There's no other human being like us. There's no other personality like us. Nobody thinks the way we do. We are unique human beings with unique gifts.
Yes.
So instead of expressing our uniqueness in this world, we'll say, नहीं, CA बनना चाहिए, उसमें पैसे ज़्यादा है. Lawyer बनना चाहिए, उसमें पैसे ज़्यादा है.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of looking at what is the gold mine within me, जो मेरे अंदर सोना भरा पड़ा है, find it, यार, जिंदगी बीत जाती है.
Yeah.
मेरे को, I mean, I discovered the sona so late. I mean, ठीक है, I was in that direction, but the sona really came, honestly, when I re-looked at my life and, you know, I said, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Reach the peak of your position, making money, but are you doing what you are made to do? जिस चीज के लिए तुम बने हो. And I remember I'd gone for this ascension course once, and they said, oh, you are Jesus energy. I said, what's that? They said, you are love, and you are there to spread love in the world. And I realized that that's who I am, actually. So that's the miracle I am. Now, it's good if you know what miracle you are. Yeah. Just a reminder to people. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Somebody might notice it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it also means that, like, I'm giving a simple anecdote too, in a way. Is it like always you have this Saas and Bahu relationship, and there's always a fight between the two, but no one is able to find out the positiveness in both the sides.
Yeah.
One positiveness is that they're still in the same house.
Yeah. A better way to put it, you know, we are all trying to fit in instead of standing out, you know. Stand out from the crowd and you will be noticed. Yes. Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Anyone else? You have your chance to say something to Sukhdeepak. Yeah, Jonita, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Amazing session. As usual, I just wanted to know, why is it happening to us so late in life? Like, I mean, all this knowledge, had it been, a couple of years, life would have been more beautiful and, things would have been amazing. Having said that, I also wanted to check that, you get convinced when I hear you, and I get convinced when I hear another person. And then this little reading so much books and reading and then going within. So that little difference of, should one follow one path, or should one, meet and check other people as well? So that little confusion, if you could throw some light on it.
I would say, look, I'm a guy who's done virtually any and every course that is possible. Okay.
Same here.
I mean, I'm one of those fellows, every year I have to go and learn from somebody else so that I don't become complacent and arrogant. Okay. I spend a lot of money. Last 1-2 years, I've spent some 30 lakh rupees in this consciousness business. All right. And I say that you want to listen to your awareness. Okay. That's why it's a good idea if you read that book, Power versus Force, because it gives you the tools to choose. In Access, we teach you how to know what is all right for you or not. Okay. Very simple. You ask yourself, and if it belongs to you and if it's okay for you, you'll feel light. And if it's not okay for you, you'll feel heavy. So simple. Right? And what's the harm in exploring? I mean, you can take the good from everywhere, no?
Yes. True. Very true. Very true.
Because you'll find that there are always similarities. There's so much of stuff which is common to all.
Yeah. True. Very true.
Where the truth has to be one, no? Ultimately, how you reach it and what is the template you're using is different, but you're getting to the same thing anyhow. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
I've seen.
How about making the younger generation? What I'm saying is there anywhere that we can spread this and like, ho gayi humse galti, at 60 we got this knowledge. What happens if we could spread it and say, bhai, wo wali galtiyan mat karo, climb. Like after listening to you, I'm thinking I'm still on step 1 and I have to, climb 9 steps more.
No, you wouldn't have been in this forum if you were below 200. I can tell you this. You wouldn't have come.
Thank you. Now
you now know your score, Jonita. You now know your score. It's above 200.
Yes.
Not that much.
Sure.
It has to be, because you will never come to these kind of forums,
Yeah.
True. Very true.
I mean,
is there anywhere to help the younger generation or what? Or is it everyone's destiny or karma that jaise this forum we came?
Yeah.
So, sometimes you feel a little like, why isn't it being spread? Why is so much suffering all around you? And why is people, even if it is that silly thing of Saas Bahu, if only, one would understand and explain, or the youngsters for that matter,
Already it's available. I offer it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to invest the time and money to do it.
Yeah.
Now, for example, for those who don't want to spend money, I do these empowering morning conversations, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Tomorrow is our 300th session. And we have a lot of young people also. And I promise you that those who've been there from the beginning, or even if they've attended 20-30 sessions, they are transformed. So it's available. There are many people like this who are doing it. All you have to come. Yes, Ratan, you wanted to say something.
Okay, I attend the morning sessions, and it's 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Bombay time. But in London, I've been in London since the COVID started. In September, I came here and I'm stuck here. I want to come to Bombay, but I cannot. So it's for me 1:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. And I join as and when my body allows. So it's open and free for everybody. We have the youngest one from Nepal. He's in early 20s. And I am 75. We have some even more. So it's open for everybody. It's open for everybody, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Every morning. And we'll celebrate 300 day tomorrow. So
wonderful. Thank you, Ratan, for sharing. Narendra, you had a question. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I just want to.
Thank you, Ratan. Narinder Kaur wanted to ask. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and that's a wonderful session. I'm an author. I've gone against the grains. Basically, my book name is The Phoenix from Ashes to Rebirth. So I have a story of this phoenix. I came into spirituality 10 years back. So that was connected. Today's session was really very, very empowering because that was somehow connected to my story. What I was hearing, what I was listening in my ears from last 15 years, I did that because the passion, what I had in my mind, the grit was there. I was not able to do it. I was stopping myself to do what I wanted to do. So I did. After 2 years, like before 2 years, I did that what I wanted to do. I left my own home and then I took my special child together and took a rented home, started my own life completely on my own. So I am Unique Revolution. I have this audio version is there on my website as well. So that I am unique. The uniqueness is there. The passion is there. There's a recorded version on that. My website is there. So this session was very, very empowering and insightful for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Narinder, for sharing your story and your journey. It is now 1:35. Sunday afternoon. It's time for lunch. A lot of people would like to go and sit down and spend some more time with their families. Before I hand it over to Premraj for the final closing, thank you so much, Sukhdeepak. This has been a wonderful conversation. I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, and we from our side as Bloom would also like to connect with you so that we can reach out and offer these programs and trainings of yours to many more people. As Jonita said, how we can help and connect with a lot more youngsters. Bloom will be the vehicle. We will be going and facilitating and doing that in the near future. Over to you, Premraj.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, sir, for your time. It was an amazing and empowering session. We are bowled over by the depth of your understanding of human relationships. A lot for us to ponder over. Bloom is privileged to have you on our platform. And like Deepak said, looking forward to more such interactions with you in future. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. And have a wonderful day and life ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. See you next Sunday.